This video we're going to cover making a label for a glass bottle. The assumption is that you've already got the glass bottle created, and now it's a matter of making that alpha channel and label that will go on the bottle. We'll start off by going into Photoshop. Now in Photoshop, I've created the art I want for the label itself, and I'm saving it as a PSD. I've duplicated the file, and in the duplicate I've created a black and white image which will serve as our alpha channel. White will give us opacity, showing the label against the glass, and black will hide the edges of the polygon plane on which we will put the textured label. Once I've saved my PSD and then saved my alpha channel as a JPEG, I can now return to Maya and apply it to the geometry. Now that I'm in Maya, I've gone to an orthographic view in which I'd like to introduce the geometry that will become our label. I'm going to use a polygon plane. I'll hold down the space bar, go to Create, Polygon Primitives, and Plane, and I'm going to the attributes. Now in the attributes, I've made the width and the height divisions 30. The higher the number, the more refined the bend will be on the geometry. So this is something you'll have to determine subjectively. Once I've set what I want, I'll click and drag the shape I want in the general area of the bottle. I'm going to go to my perspective view now, and I can see that my label is kind of inside the bottle, so I'll start by pulling it out in front of it. I'm going to hold down the space bar, go to Deform, and I'm going to go to Nonlinear, and I'm going to choose Bend. Now when the Bend tool comes in, by default it's vertical. I'll need this to be horizontal in order to get the contour that I want. I'm going to go to the channel box, and I'm going to rotate this on the appropriate axis. For me it happens to be 90 degrees, so I'll rotate the z-axis 90. And now I'm going to start to make the contour to fit the bottle. I'll hit T on the keyboard to get in the editing mode for the nonlinear bend. Grabbing the middle blue diamond, I'll click and drag down, and I can see the contour is bending in the wrong direction. But I'm going to leave it like that, so now I can use E on the keyboard to get my rotation tool, and I can determine the direction in which I need to bend this geometry. So I've got it in the general area that I want it to be, and if I look in my channel box I can see that I really want -90 to make it accurate. Once I've got that bend introduced, I'm going to go to the top view, and in the top view with the bend tool selected still, I'll hit T. Now I'll grab that middle diamond once again, and I'll start to bend it back to the contour of the bottle. Once I have what I want, I'll return to my perspective view. Now if I want to, I could change the scale of this by getting my scale tool, and you can see that if you decide to change the scale, you'll need to return to the top view to make sure that the contour is correct. Once again, I'll select it just to tweak it. Still looks pretty good. Going back to my perspective view, I'll select the geometry, and I'm going to click on Delete by Type History. And this will make the bend permanent. So make sure you've got the contour before you commit to that. Now I'm going to add a new material. I'll start by holding down the space bar, going to Assign New Material, Arnold, AI Standard Surface, and now in my color node I'll follow the color tab under base out to my folder, and under file I'll apply the texture that I want for the label itself. Now before I straighten the label out on the geometry, I'm going to return to the material, and in the material attributes I'm going to open up the geometry tab, and following the opacity slider out, I'll click on the checkerboard. Going to File, I'll go to my folder, and I'll introduce that alpha JPEG. Now I'll select my geometry, and on my shelf I'll click on the UV editor, and in the editor I'll right-click and choose UV Shell, click on the shell, hit W on the keyboard, and I'll position the label where I'd like it to be. Once I've positioned my label, I'm going to deselect my label geometry and reselect it. I'm doing that so that I can see the P-plane shape tab. In order to get the complete opacity and the effect of this in the Arnold render, I need to select the shape tab and open up Arnold and then take off the opaque. Now if I've set up a light, I can now go to the Arnold render view, and if I've activated the Arnold view, I now have transparency around the perimeter of the polygon face that serves as our label.